чухал. Өнөөгийн BANI ертөнцийн энэ адармаатай салхишуургамын чухал цагт өнөөгийн BANI ертөнцийн хэрхэн адармаатай салхишуургамын Монголын бизнесмэнүүдийн болон бизнесийн орчинд OKR-ийн нөлөөлөл том чухал. Бизнес гэдэг удаан жил оршин тогтноод салганаад байхыг хэлэхгүй. Бизнес гэдэг салхи мэт хурдаа оргилдон хурж түүнийг хамгаалахад оршин.
Сайн уу? Намайг Джон Диор гэдэг. Би OKR-ийг бидний зорилго, хүсэл тэмүүллийн юу болон яаж гэсэн хэсгийг агуулсан тунгалаг сав гэж төсөөлдөг. Жинхэнэ өөрчлөлт хийдэг багууд зорилгоо өөрсдийн хүсэл, урам зориг, утга учиртай холбож чаддаг. Ингэснээр тэд маш тодорхой сэтгэлд хүрсэн яагаад гэдэг ойлголтыг олж авдаг. Та зорилго болон гол үр дүн ажил дээр хэрхэн хэрэглэх талаар илүү их мэдхийг хүсэж байгаа гэж найдаж байна. Та юу чухал болохыг хэрхэн тодорхойлж, мөн зоримог, уран зоригтой зорилгоодыг хэрхэн тавьж түүндээ хүрэх талаар суралцахыг хүсэж байна уу? OKR таныг өргөлд хүргэж чадна. Би нэг зүйлийг мартдаггүй юм. Энд надад Джон, чи юу мэддэг чинь төдийлөн чухал биш. Чиний хийж байгаа зүйл л хамгийн чухал гэж хэлсэн. Энэ үнэхээр үнэн үг. Санаа гаргах амархан, хэрэгжүүлэх хамгийн хэцүү. Томас Эдисон ч гэсэн хэрэгжүүлэлтгүй инновац бол зүгээр л хийх хосон мөрөөдөл гэж хэлсэн байдаг. OKR Mongolia бүгдийг нь биш, чухлыг нь хэмж. OKR Mongolia. OKR Mongolia нь Recolor компани санаачлагаар байгуулагдсан бөгөөд OKR системийг Монгол улсад албан ёсны франчайз эрхтэйгээр сургалт болон зөвлөх үйлчилгээ үзүүлдэг байгууллага юм. Бид Монгол улсдаа албан байгууллага, хувь хүмүүст OKR аргачлалыг зөв ойлгуулж, тэдний стратегийн хэрэгжилт, менежментийн соёл, багийн уялдаа холбоо, амжилтад чиглэсэн хандлагыг шинэ түвшинд хүргэдэг бодит шийдлүүдийг санал болгож байна. OKR Mongolia нь олон улсын франчайз эрхтэйгээр OKR системийг Монголын бизнесийн орчинд нутагшуулах зорилготой. Ингэснээр бид Монголын бизнесүүдийг дэлхийн жишгт гүйцэтгэлийн тогтолцоотой болгоход бодит хувь нэмэр оруулна. OKR Mongolia бүгдийг нь биш, чухлыг нь хэмж.
Өнөөгийн Монгол орн боорой дэлхийн бусад хүч хэрэг байна. Бид эдийн засаг стратегийн бодлогоо сайжруулах нь чухал. Өнөөгийн BANI ертөнцийн энэ адармаатай салхишуургамын энэ цагт OKR систем оруулж ирэх нь хэрхэн сайн лүтэй. Монголын бизнесмэнүүдийн болон бизнесийн орчинд OKR-ийн нөлөөлөл том чухал. Бизнес гэдэг удаан жил оршин тогтноод салганаад байхыг хэлэхгүй. Бизнес гэдэг салхи мэт хурдаа оргилдон хурж түүнийг хамгаалахад оршин.
Сайн байцгаана уу? Бүгдээрээ сайн байцгаана уу?
Сайн байна уу?
Сайн мэдээ, сайн байна уу? За та бүхэндээ энэ орой мэндийг хүргэе. Бидний урилгыг хүлээж авч манай вебинарт оролцож байгаа та бүхэндээ маш их баярлалаа. Тэгээд ингээд харахад бол манай дээр маш нэлээд олон хүмүүс ороод ирсэн байна. За ингээд өнөөдрийнхөө вебинарыг эхлэе гэж бодож байна. За OKR Mongoliaгийн талаар та бүхэн сая энэ видеоноос үзсэн байх. Тэгэхээр OKR Mongolia нь дэлхийд танигдсан гүйцэтгэлийн удирдлагын аргачлал болох OKR Objective Key Result гэд энэ аргачлалыг Монголын зах зээлд албан ёсоор нэвтрүүлэх хэрэгтэй. OKR International-ийн франчайз түвш болсноо албан ёсоор танилцахад таатай байна. Энэхүү түншлэл бол зөвхөн бидний хувьд төдийгүй те Монголын бизнесийн орчинд бүхэлдээ олон улсын стандартад нийцсэн менежментийн шинэ шатанд шилжих боломжийг нээж байгаа гэдгийг одоо онцлон тэмдэглэмээр байна. Монголд бол OKR соёлыг төлөвшүүлэх нь бол бидний одоо OKR Mongoliaгийн бидний эрхэм зорилго байгаа. За энийг одоо дуулахдаа бас дахин одоо таатай байна гэж хэлмээр байна. За OKR аргачлалыг Монголын байгууллагуудад нутагшуулах нь за хамгийн нэгдүгээр зорилго байгаа. За энэвээрээ дамжуулаад бид нэр зөвхөн сургалт биш, сургалтаас орно. За сургалтын дараа бодит хэрэгжилтэнд чиглэсэн зөвлөх үйлчилгээнүүдийг бас үзүүлэх болно. За байгууллагын менежментийн соёлын шинжилгээг бас ингэж энэ OKR-аар дамжуулаад хийх юм боломжтой. За тэгээд энэ зорилгын хүрээнд бол бид нар OKR International байгууллагатай ингээд хамтран ажиллаж байгаадаа маш их баяртай байгаа. За OKR International бол дэлхийн 40 гаруй орны одоо маш олон 500 нэмэх байгууллагуудад ингээд зөвлөх үйлчилгээгээр ажилласан. Үүсгэн байгуулагч одоо ноён 1 BANI хүрэлцэн байна. За өнөөдрийн одоо манай гол илтгэгч бол ноён 1 BANI байгаа. 1 хил BANI гэдэг байгаа. За дараагийн одоо илтгэгч бол ноён Богдан Сэтүү гэдэг байгаа. За та бүхэндээ ноён Богдан Сэтүүг ингээд танилцуулъя. Тэрээр Америкийн нэгдсэн улсын нөгөө харилцаа холбооны үйлчилгээ үзүүлдэг тийм байгууллага байдаг. Тэр нь 8-ыг харьцах 8 гэдэг байгууллага байдаг. Түүний одоо Роман дах одоо компани ахлах техникийн төслийн менежер хийдэг. Энэ хүн бол нөгөө 20 жилийн туршлага хоримтлуулсан анхнаасаа нөгөө технологийн компани учраас фронт энд хөгжүүлэгчээр карьераа хийж эхэлсэн. За сүүлийн 10 жилийн хугацаанд бол удирдлагын маш олон төрлийн одоо үүрэг хариуцлага төсөл дээр амжилттай ингээд явж байгаа тийм хүн байгаа. За энэ хүн бол маш олон талын өвөрмөц одоо динамик хөтөлбөрүүдийг бас удирдаад одоо өнөөдрийн энэ ур чадвараа ингээд эзэмссэн байж байгаа. Тэгээд сая олон улсын одоо энэ OKR сертификатыг саяхан бас одоо авсан. Бид хоёр нэг ангид суралцж байсан. Бас олон улсын мастер коуч болсон байгаа. Манай Богдан бол за өнөөдрийн гол илтгэгч ноён Никийн талаар танилцуулъя. Манай ноён Ник бол Agile манлайлал болон за OKR байгууллагын соёлын өөрчлөлт чиглэлээр дэлхийн 27 одоо салбарт 27 нэмэх салбарт үйл ажиллагаагаа явуулдаг. За 500 гаруй байгууллагуудтай хамтран ажилласан ийм туршлагатай. За тэгээ OKR International-ийн үүсгэн байгуулагч ийм хүн байгаа. За тэгээд өөрийгөө бас танилцуулах байх. Эхлээд ямар ч лсэн ноён Богданыг одоо энэ дээр урьж байна. Та өөрийгөө танилцуулно гэж хүсэж байна. Bogdan, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I'm Bogdan. I'm based in Romania, and I work for a communication company that is headquartered in California. I'm a program manager for this company, working for the past 10 years on leading various projects from waterfall to agile to hybrid. My background is I started as a front-end developer and then moved 10 years ago to management positions, where I started as a Scrum Master and then moved to program manager and project management roles. I'm working with 8x8 for the past 8 years. And we recently, 1 year ago, let's say, we started to use the OKRs, and I'm eager to share some of the challenges and successes that we had using this framework. So again, excited to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Bogdan. Now I would like одоо ноён нийтгийг өөрийгөө танилцуулаарай гэж хүсэж байна.
Thank you very much. A very good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar on OKRs. My name is BANI, and I'm the CEO of OKR International. We are based in Dubai, in the UAE, and I would like to spend a few minutes talking to you about my background. I started my career in aviation. I worked in aviation for about 8 years. And after that, I joined JP Chase, where I worked in the banking sector for some time. I used to head their entire training academy for their wholesale and retail business, covering 17 lines of businesses. My last job was with Hutchison Telecom, based in Australia, as the head of HR for an organization of 18,000 people. So all in all, I have spent about 28 years in the space of strategy and organization development. I worked with more than 600 organizations in 23 industry sectors. And I'm also on the panel for Forbes Business Council, and I write a lot of articles for them. Since 2007, I have been an entrepreneur running my business around helping organizations in the space of strategy execution, organization development, performance management, culture transformation, and similar such. So a little about my organization. Like we said, OKR International is one of the leading brands in the world of OKRs globally. And one of the most important services we offer is allowing people to get credentialed and get accreditation in the space of OKRs. We were the first organization globally to be endorsed by the International Coaching Federation and the Human Resource Certification Institute based in USA. So our certification is the first certification in the world that allows you to be a professional OKR coach. We also help our clients with transformation services around leadership, culture change, OKR implementation, and of course, agile performance management. So that's a little about the introduction piece from my end. And I would like to say a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining this wonderful webinar on introducing OKRs to Mongolia. And I'm really excited to look at the possibility of bringing the entire framework to Mongolia and its evolving business today. So I want to spend another minute quickly to talk to you about what this webinar is all about. And as you can see, we're going to spend the first 15 minutes on helping you understand why OKRs are important to organizations today, and also what's the definition and what's the DNA of the OKR framework. So this 15-minute module is going to be based on a video that we will show you. And after the module, we will spend another 15 minutes where our dear friend Bogdan is going to talk a little about how, in his experience, organizations have used OKRs to grow, some of the benefits and challenges of implementing OKRs in the organization. So that's going to be for another 15 minutes. I do want to spend a good amount of time on frequently asked questions. Now, some of you have already shared some important questions that you would like answers to. And as we move forward, I will spend a good 45 minutes sharing some of the answers that we prepared for the questions that some of you have already asked us. And after this, we will spend some time with a live question and answer session. So for 20 minutes towards the end, we're going to keep the forum open for you, and you're going to be free to ask any question around OKRs, and Bogdan, myself, and also Suvda are going to be happy to answer any of your questions in a live format. Towards the end, of course, we do have closing announcements on our first OKR course that we will be offering next week in Ulaanbaatar. And also, for those of you who stick around till the end of the session today, you will get free access to our OKR Foundation e-learning program. It's a course which is self-paced. And for those of you who know little about OKRs, you can use the Foundation e-learning course. We've got 5-6 modules there, and this is going to be open for 1 month for you, and it's completely free. Okay, so do hang in there. We will share the link in the QR code for you to get access to the OKR Foundation course towards the end of our session today. So without any further delay, what I would like to do is introduce you to a short video on OKRs. But before we get there, I do want to spend some time where we do a little bit of interactive activity as a team. So what you got here is a QR code, and we'd really like you to scan the QR code. And once you scan the QR code, please answer this question: what's the one big challenge your organization is facing today? And when you answer this question, please do share your answers in 1 or 2 words. So this way we can see everyone's responses on one sheet. So we're going to keep the QR code open for a minute or 2. Everybody, please do scan the QR code and answer this question in 1 or 2 words as much as you can. Thank you very much.
За
Those
энэ
are-
хооронд нь би нэг юм
Go ahead.
хэлчихье. Манайхан монгол хэлээр за энэ дээрээ тавьчих. Манайхан бүгдээрээ монгол хэлээр сонгохоор бол доор interpretation гэдэг хэсэг байгаа. Тэрэн дээр дараад монголоор сонсож олно. За шууд бас англиараа сонсож олно шүү. Орчуулга монголоор, за англиар бас шууд сонсож олно. Та бүхэн асуух асуулт байх юм бол чатан дээр бас бичиж болно шүү.
So some of you who've just entered the webinar right now, what we're doing is doing a quick Mentimeter poll. Please scan the QR code that you see here on the screen, and please answer the question here, and that is, what's the one big challenge your organization is facing today? And please answer this in 1 or 2 words. Thank you very much. We're going to give it a couple of minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, for you to write down your answers. Right, so we've got lots of responses coming in. Thank you very much. This is very interesting. Yes. And that's all right. That's absolutely okay. We'd just like to understand the kind of challenges that you're facing right now, and we've got some really interesting responses. So thank you very much for this. Evaluating performance, increasing production, improving productivity, evaluating employees using OKRs, performance management systems, how to make good decisions, managing human resources or the lack of human resources, understanding OKRs, how do you manage market slowdown, trade wars. This is really very, very interesting. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for all your responses. Really appreciate it. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump in and allow you to learn a little about OKRs. So the next 15 minutes, you're going to be watching an introduction video on OKRs, where we will talk to you about 2 things. Number one, why is OKR an important tool and important framework for organizations today? World over, you will see a lot of organizations using OKRs. When you start looking at very large names like Google, Intel, Microsoft, Facebook, Meta, Spotify, Samsung, Colgate, these are all organizations around the world that have used OKRs in one way or the other. And the big question is, why do these organizations find the OKR framework so useful? So do gear up now and watch this video for the next 15 minutes. For those of you who don't understand OKRs, you will find this video really useful. And for those of you who know a little about OKRs, a lot of your questions will be answered here. So we're getting ready to showcase the video to you. There we go.
Welcome to Module 1. Welcome to Module 1, Introduction to OKRs. In this module, we will cover 2 important topics. First, why the OKR framework is crucial for success today. And second, what's the definition and the DNA of OKRs? Let me begin by making a case for OKRs. In a volatile marketplace like today's, sitting down once a year to do anything is just bizarre. We need to create an organizational ecosystem that allows companies to be nimble-footed and responsive to the ever-changing market conditions. So let us examine what organizations need today to not just survive, but also thrive. In our research with nearly 50 CEOs, founders, and investors, the following factors have emerged as key mandates for organizational success: converting strategy to execution, creating higher levels of agility, greater alignment of goals and efforts, and the need for value creation. While these are some of the top challenges faced by leaders today, they also happen to be OKR superpowers. In the next few slides, I will help you understand how OKRs, when applied well, can help you convert these challenges into opportunities for growth. With a growing number of companies trying to compete in the marketplace, everything seems to be a priority at work today. It's not the strategy creation that most organizations struggle with, it's the execution of that strategy where the challenge lies. OKRs act as a conduit to converting your strategy into quarterly goals. The laser focus on priorities comes from the OKR framework of no more than 3 to 5 objectives and key results for every cycle. This empowers us to organize our ambitions by importance, thus ensuring we commit to the essential goals first. What's more, OKRs provide the rigor and discipline to track, check, and calibrate frequently. This ensures you are on the right path. With objectives and key results, we don't just envision success, we actively chart the course toward it, rapidly learning and adapting. Now, let us understand how objectives and key results help teams create higher levels of agility. As organizations navigate the complexities of the market, agility has become a cornerstone of competitive advantage. OKRs are the linchpin in this dynamic environment, fostering a mindset that embraces the fail-fast philosophy. This approach encourages teams to experiment boldly, iterate quickly, and pivot without hesitation when an approach doesn't yield the expected outcomes. Such a framework amplifies responsiveness, allowing teams to adapt to changes and feedback in real time rather than being bogged down by outdated plans. Moreover, OKRs kindle the spark of innovation by setting a rhythm for teams to regularly challenge the status quo, propose novel solutions, and venture into uncharted territories with confidence. The agility instilled by OKRs isn't just about speed. It's about the swift and strategic recalibration of efforts to align with the ever-evolving landscape of business needs and opportunities. Next up, let's take a look at how OKRs create greater alignment between goals and effort. Think about it. If the procurement team of a cell phone company is unable to get enough chips in time, the product development team's goals of rolling out products in the marketplace will remain unachievable. Many organizations world over suffer from this malady, which I like to call a systemic disconnect. OKRs and its very framework enhances systems thinking. It encourages leaders to convert their strategy into annual goals and then further break those goals into quarterly ones. In doing so, it becomes critical for teams and sub-teams to align themselves to the overall goals and purpose of the organization. One also gets to see 360-degree alignment, when there is a healthy amalgamation of top-down, bottom-up, and cross-alignment between teams or members, all working towards the same goals. The result? A well-oiled engine generating great value for the organization. What's more, OKRs are transparent and therefore discourage working in silos. And through this transparency, members also get to see real-time changes in one place and how they impact other teams. This ensures everyone in the system is pooling in their resources toward commonly called out goals. This approach has revolutionized the goal setting and execution process around the world. Towards the end, let's cover how objectives and key results help in creating value for teams and organizations by focusing on an outcome mindset. Very many teams end up writing goals based on effort rather than the actual outcome desired. Objectives and key results help you create more value through an outcome-focused mindset. Let's take the example of John, a hiring manager who has been asked to conduct 10 interviews per day to fill a position, while Jane, another hiring manager, has a different goal: to reduce the time to hire from 90 days to 45. I would now ask you to think what John would be experiencing as he shows up to work every day. John's focus will remain on completing 10 interviews daily, making his job quite monotonous after a point. Jane, on the other hand, would be more focused on creating value, thus allowing her to take charge of the results and own the outcome. There's greater job satisfaction in store for her. People like Jane are now compelled to look beyond the otherwise narrowly defined tasks in their attempt to ultimately generate results. Remember, key results are not just a task list. Well-crafted key results are more outcome-based and less activity-based, thereby empowering employees and teams to take ownership and accountability for results. Throughout this course, you will realize how these factors come alive using the OKR framework. Now, I will introduce you to the definition of OKRs. All right, let's look at our definition of objectives and key results. We like to define it as a goal-setting and execution framework. It encourages no more than 3 to 5 objectives per cycle, with a maximum of 3 to 5 key results for every objective, and no more than 3 to 5 initiatives per KR. Today, OKRs are being used irrespective of industry, function, or nature of teams. You can also use OKRs to achieve success in your personal life or professional development. So let's be clear. No two organizations tend to implement objectives and key results the same way. There are no rules, rather guidelines, when working with objectives and key results. Therefore, one must avoid being dogmatic about it. OKRs, by their very nature, tend to be quite fluid and malleable. However, there are some essentials that must not be compromised in order to maintain the integrity of the OKR framework. Let's talk more about this, shall we? What we're going to do now is spend some time looking at the 3 key components of an objective and key result. Let's talk about objectives first. Objectives should help answer the questions. Where do I want to go? What's my goal? What's priority? Objectives should give you a sense of direction and focus. Well-crafted objectives should take you in the direction of your strategy. Objectives should inspire and motivate your people to work towards them. It is always recommended that objectives be kept qualitative. When objectives have numbers in them, they simply reduce the spectrum of possibilities. It also puts the onus of achieving the said objective on a single metric. Since they bring emotionality to your endeavor, we like to refer to objectives as the heart of your OKR. So, if objectives help answer the question, where do I want to go? Key results help answer the questions. How will I get there? How can I confirm I've achieved my objective? In essence, key results are a measure of success. Key results are nothing but measurable outcomes, which when achieved will directly advance the objective. It's usually the cumulative impact of the 3 to 5 KRs and the interrelation of these KRs with each other that collectively help achieve the respective objective. A good KR should always have a metric that defines the outcome or the result desired, along with the target. The target simply means the quantification of the metric over a period of time. If you happen to work on a particular quarter, the timeline in the target is by default that particular quarter. Choosing the right KR is about being crystal clear on what you are trying to measure in the first place. Sometimes measures are not readily available. This is especially true when you are trying to measure something intangible. We will cover more about how to deal with such KRs in one of the forthcoming modules. In summary, since key results is where the numbers lie, we like to refer to them as the head of your OKR. Finally, let's look at initiatives. They play a crucial role in the execution of OKRs. Initiatives answer the question, what do I need to do in order to achieve my key results? Initiatives are nothing but tasks, activities, or projects one undertakes to achieve any given key result. Each key result should come with at least one initiative to forge ahead. It isn't uncommon to have multiple initiatives for one KR. However, it is important to maintain a balance and limit initiatives to between 3 to 5 for each KR. This way, you manage to keep your initiatives under control, as they can consume a lot of resources. Initiatives can be either Boolean or with a range. Boolean initiatives tend to be shorter term in duration. For example, train 20 people on the new product this month. You either do it or you don't. On the other hand, some initiatives like projects may take longer to complete and may have a range of sub-activities that may need completion. Earlier, we defined OKRs as a goal management and execution framework. The goal management part is basically where OKRs are planned. It is the initiatives that activate the execution of them. They work as the hands of your OKRs. In practice, nearly 80% of your overall success with OKRs comes from the consistency and diligence you put into carrying out your initiatives. This is what we call execution excellence. We will dive deeper into this subject in an upcoming module. Now that we've learned about objectives, key results, and initiatives, it is time for us to put this all together with an example. Let's begin with a simple illustration. Consider two goals: aspiring to lose weight against wanting to become the most fit version of oneself. The latter inherently possesses more vigor and aspiration. It also instills an emotional stimulus that promotes action. Appropriately crafted objectives of this sort naturally urge us to elevate our targets and strive for remarkable outcomes. When you aim to be the fittest version of yourself, it naturally inspires you to surpass previous fitness benchmarks. It makes fitness about more than just shedding pounds. This goal nudges us towards a wider and deeper understanding of health and wellness. You will now notice how this objective statement is aspirational, directional, and qualitative in nature. Now, using the same objective, we would like to look at some examples of key results. Let's look for a minute towards the following key results. KR1, run a half marathon in less than 2 hours by end of quarter 1. KR2, increase deep sleep by an average of 30 minutes in quarter 1. KR3, to go to the gym 5 times a week in quarter 1. And KR4, to eat salad for dinner daily in quarter 1. Which of these would qualify as good key results and which of these won't? Let's take a few seconds to reflect on this, shall we? If you have chosen KR1 and KR2, you are spot on. Both these key results are in fact outcomes, and that is one of the most critical aspects of a good KR. They must be outcome-driven, identifying the results expected. So why would KR3 and 4 not qualify as well-written KRs? Because going to the gym 5 times a week or eating salad every night are tasks or efforts. They are the inputs that we hope will lead to the desired outcome. In fact, they are better classified as initiatives rather than results. A key result should reflect the outcome of these efforts, not the actions themselves. So, your OKRs may finally look something like this, with the objective at the top that dictates the key results, which collectively help you achieve that objective, and eventually the initiatives that help you achieve the desired outcome in your key result. But here's the key insight. Initiatives are hypotheses. They are bets that certain actions will move the needle on our key results. And if they don't, we need to adapt using the add, modify, or delete approach. If an initiative isn't yielding results, we add a new one or modify the current one or simply delete it altogether. To summarize, the OKR planning process begins with setting objectives. These objectives then guide us to our KRs. Based on these KRs, we determine the necessary initiatives we need to implement to accomplish our goals. It's a forward engineering process that fosters innovation and engagement. However, once the planning phase is done, the implementation process begins. During implementation, we first review initiatives to gauge their impact on key results. We then assess how all key results collectively drive us towards our objectives. In the world of OKRs, we grade the objective at the end of a quarter, based on the collective achievement of the key results. So this brings us to the end of Module 1. In this module, we covered 2 important topics. First, why the OKR framework is crucial for success today, and second, what's the definition and the DNA of OKRs. Welcome to Module 1. Welcome to Module.
All right, so that was the video on the introduction to OKRs, along with talking about the importance and benefits of why organizations world over are turning towards this framework called objectives and key results. Now, before I hand over to Bogdan to talk about what some of the experiences he's got to share around how OKRs are getting implemented in organizations, I do want to summarize by saying that when OKRs are created, these OKRs are usually created based on the organization's strategy, vision, mission, and values. OKRs are a vessel, it's a channel, it's a method to look at the organization's vision, mission, values, and more importantly, the overall strategy of the organization, and then converting them into action and results. And therefore, as you can notice on the right-hand side of the slide, you will see that very most often OKRs end up being created around customers. You can end up writing OKRs around performance, and performance is how we essentially look to our shareholders and stakeholders in the organization. And this might include metrics that are top line, bottom line. OKRs can also center around revenues. When we talk about engagement, OKRs are about looking at the people, leadership, and culture of the organization. And of course, you can also write OKRs around the organization's growth plans. Now, in my experience, when you look at organizational OKRs, when you write OKRs, or you start implementing OKRs across the entire organization, very often we find that these OKRs are actually written with a mix of these factors. You may have some OKRs that are around customers and some OKRs around performance, revenue, and yet again, there might be some OKRs around engagement or growth. What really matters here is to look at your organization strategy. What's your go-to-market plan for a product, for example? And basis your strategy, you got to choose what kind of OKRs you create and then write down initiatives to essentially start the execution of it. So, friends, this is a very small introduction to OKRs. Of course, if and when you do decide to join the certification program, you not only get to learn much more, but you also have the opportunity to practice OKRs because the entire course is extremely interactive. So that's a little introduction. Hope you have found this quite useful for those of you who've not really been familiar with OKRs. Hopefully this has been a good eye-opener for you. So with that, I'm really eager to hand over to Bogdan and see what is it that he has for us today that he would like to share about his own experiences. Bogdan, over to you. Would love to hear from you some of your experiences around implementing OKRs, the challenges you face, and how do you really navigate across those challenges?
Thank you so much, Nick. And it was really great to see again the introduction of the framework. Really great to hear about those concepts again. So thank you again. I can share some of the learnings from my experience. As I said, I have 20 years of experience in IT, 10 years as a developer and 10 years as a manager into various roles. Yeah, and I do have some learnings related to OKR in framework in particular. What I consider to be some key success factors in terms of successfully implementing the OKR framework, first would be to have a theoretical foundation of the OKR framework, not only the OKR framework, but in ideal case, combined with other project and program management framework. So to have the technical, the theoretical foundation, at least at the C-level and at the senior management level. So in order to implement any kind of change, particularly in this case, a really powerful one, you need to have the buy-in from the senior leadership. And to have the buy-in, I do believe that they need to understand the framework, the implications, the benefits, and the theoretical aspect of this one. So at least in the company that I work for, people had the opportunity to get the certification and to be the ambassadors and the OKR champions inside the organization. So I think that the first step is to have that theoretical knowledge as a starting point in the organization. Ideally, that OKR theoretical knowledge needs to be combined with other areas where we have similar understanding. Program, project management, risk management, whether it's waterfall approach or agile. So that's the first starting point. Secondly, we need to start implementing the framework, and I received the golden advice that I found it really useful to look for progress over perfection. So at the beginning of my career, when I learned a particular concept, at first I started to be very dogmatic. If you're doing this, that's okay. If you're not doing this, then it's totally wrong because we are not following a certain framework, and it will be not a great outcome. But it's not the case. Things are really dynamic. Things are complex. In general, it's better to play with a framework, to start using it. It's the same like with the OKRs. Start from somewhere. Implement the framework, inspect, adapt, learn fast, fail fast, discuss the outcomes inside certain communities, whether it's from your own company or outside communities. Share ideas, implement those ideas, inspect again, learn again, start a new cycle. It will not be an easy mission, but it will be an iterative one. And in the end, you will gradually see that success will come. By success, I'm understanding reaching to your desired business outcomes while keeping the team united and satisfied with their work. So don't forget about progress over perfection. At the company that I work for, we started only making sure that we are delivering a lot of initiatives. And it was a contest between the teams. How many initiatives did you implement in the last quarter? I implemented 5. I implemented just 3. Now I'm better than you. And the big surprise was that when we combined all those initiatives all together, we understood that those initiatives weren't contributed to certain key results or goals. So we've worked hard, but in the end, we didn't produce outcomes, but just outputs. So it's this framework enables the alignment at the organizational level, so that we are heading all of us to a direction that will provide us business outcomes, not outputs. And we, at my organization, we started to iterate and to work together and to make to streamline our efforts towards achieving those initiatives that combine together contribute to a key result, that combine together contribute to a certain goals that enable us to achieve our strategy. So progress over perfection, and always have in mind the end result, that is delivering business outcomes and company goals. And have enough patience, because as always, nothing that is great for a company or for an individual, nothing comes without great effort and without a certain investment. So you need to be patient, allocate enough time, and be prepared to iterate on this process. My third lesson is related to playing with the framework. So as soon as you iterate and you implement multiple OKR cycles in your organization, you need to create a central repository of lessons learned. You need to discuss the outcomes. You need to maybe share the ideas inside your organization and outside the organization. Find people from different companies that experience the same challenges, discuss the ideas, discuss this during the communities, check resources online, and spread your understanding to the others, and discuss the ideas. In the end, I think that this OKR implementation, it's about iteration, about patience, and about understanding that all the efforts in a company needs to be towards achieving some outcomes and not outputs. That's it from my side. Any questions you might have?
Thank you, Bogdan, and really appreciate your pearls of wisdom. I think I couldn't agree more with just about everything that you said right now. And I do want to keep the question and answer side. So for those of you who have any questions, please do put them in the chat box right now. And towards the latter half of our webinar, we will pick up any and all questions given the amount of time we have at hand. So do write your questions and put them in the chat box for us, and we will pick it up as we go along. We really appreciate all the efforts you put in, Bogdan. Thank you very much for that. That being said, we are now at a place where we will spend some time talking about some of the questions that a lot of you have already asked us in advance. So when we announced the webinar, a lot of you came with certain questions and doubts in your heads about the hows and the whys of OKRs. So therefore, what we're going to do is spend some time now talking about some of those questions that were asked by different people. So one of the most often asked questions, this is a question that got repeated at least 4 or 5 times. So a lot of people are asking this question, and I thought I would perhaps start by answering this particular question. The question being asked is, how is OKR used to manage the performance of an organization? Right? How do we use OKRs to manage the performance of an organization? And how should it be effectively defined and implemented? So what we're going to do is spend some time answering this question. And one of the most important pieces, one of the most important areas I also like to call this the superpower of OKRs. So just like you have all the superheroes in the Marvel movies and the DC movies, OKR has its own superheroes. And the first and the most important superhero for OKRs is the fact that OKRs can actually very quickly convert your strategy into action. And what that means is when we've seen a lot of organizations that make elaborate plans about what their strategy will look like, but when it's time to implement this, days and months go by and people are not sure where to begin. What OKRs do for you is it allows you to take your strategy and break it down into quarterly goals. And with these goals, it allows you to really create that laser focus, right? That focus on those 3 to 5 important goals as an organization. And these are what we would like to call the priorities of the organization. And through this, like Bogdan talked about, it requires a lot of iteration, discipline, and making sure that we review these goals, not just set them, but also review them on a regular basis. So by ensuring that you review your OKRs and your goals on a regular basis, it also gives you the second superpower, and that's the superpower of building agility. Now, what does agility really mean to you? Just think about what happened to Nokia. Think about what happened to BlackBerry, right? We all remember these famous examples of fantastic companies, Nokia, BlackBerry. Everybody used Nokia and BlackBerry at one time when mobile phones just started. But one day, it just went kaput. BlackBerry, Nokia just shut down. They're not working too well anymore. And you might ask yourself, why? The reason why companies like these don't survive for too long is that they fail to see what's happening in the marketplace outside. How's the marketplace changing? The marketplace has several factors that impact. Some of you talked about it in the Mentimeter poll, and you talked about trade war, all kinds of pandemics happening, prices going up because of shortages. And essentially, these factors are not going to stop. They're not going to, happen just once or twice. These factors are what we live with on a daily basis today. So when the marketplace is changing so much outside, how do you as an organization adapt to that? How do you respond to it? Are you responding to it in a proactive manner? Or are you responding to it in a reactive manner? And depending on how quick you are in anticipating these changes and responding to them, that's where OKRs really come in. It becomes really useful, it becomes handy, and it comes in handy for us because it's a framework that really compels you to look at how you're going on a quarterly basis, rather than just setting goals for 1 year and then just forgetting about it. So that's the second superpower. And that's how, as organizations, you can manage performance by ensuring that your goals are moving in the same direction as the changes in the marketplace. OKRs allow you to not just look at factors like the pandemic or the war, but also factors like technology, governance, looking at what's changing in the world of sustainability, what's happening in the space of competition, what's your competitor doing, and how are you going to respond to it? How quickly are you going to respond to it? So those are some of the factors that really allow you to take things into control when you start using OKRs. The third and very critical aspect of OKRs is the fact that it allows you to create goals that are collective. So in most organizations, you will see that departments work in their own corner, but they don't really talk to each other. This is called working in a silo. And a silo is like a container, and you don't get to see what's happening outside. So with OKRs, it's transparent, which means when you write goals, everyone can see what you're working on. When you're implementing them, everyone can see what's going on. And this allows you to share feedback and support each other and work towards the entire goal setting in an aligned fashion. OKRs are a social process. I like to say this over and over again. It's not about setting goals in your own department by yourself. It's about coming together and answering the question, what does the organization require from us today? And what are those 2 or 3 or maybe 4 important goals that everyone should be contributing towards? And then ensuring that we align towards our resources are aligned towards achieving those goals. And when I talk about resources, I mean our manpower, people, machinery, material, money, time. These are important resources, and we need to spend them in a very judicious manner. We need to spend them carefully. We need to spend them wisely. So when we start using our resources in the right places, we start putting our resources to chase the right kind of goals, that's where you will see that OKRs start shaping and giving you more results. Last but not the least, this is my personal favorite, is where we start talking about OKRs generating value for you. In most organizations, you will see that employees like to come in, do their work, go home, take their salary, but we don't really know if there's too much of value generation or whether we generate too many results for the organization. Are we really adding value? Are we showing outcome? Bogdan talked about this earlier, and this is important for me. In most places where we implement OKRs, one of the things that we really find people struggle with is to differentiate between what they're going to do versus what they're going to get. With OKRs, the focus is, what do I need to get? What's the key result that I want to generate for the company? And once I'm clear about the key result, once I'm clear about the outcome, I can start innovating and looking at different ideas to really achieve that outcome. And so what we're doing with OKRs, what you can do as a leader is help people move away from just coming to work and doing their jobs and start moving towards coming to work and creating value for you, generating results for you, and taking accountability for the results that they're generating. So answering your first question, ladies and gentlemen, this is how OKRs can really help you manage performance in an organization. This is how, once we define OKRs and start implementing, you will see that the kind of results you get is exponentially high, is the kind of growth rate that you will see will be exponentially high, because now people are coming together and putting their resources to achieve those important priorities for the organization. So that, my friends, was the answer to the first question, okay? Now, I would like to move to the second question. And as I'm speaking, I would encourage you to think about what questions you would like to have me answer later on. But right now, as I'm speaking, I'm going to share some of my experiences over the last 28 years that I've had in working with models like the OKR model. The second question here now is, what strategies should be used in order to improve leadership methods and employee productivity whilst implementing OKRs? I love this question. I really like this question. You know, OKRs are a framework and they don't really work by themselves. So for the framework to work and for this framework to give you results, it's important that the leadership in the organization allows and enables its people to use this framework to its fullest. Now, here are some ideas that I'd like to share that the leadership and leaders like yourselves can really use when you go back to improve productivity. The first piece is when you use OKRs as a leader, when you use OKRs, it's important that you start OKRs at the top, the most important level of the organization. And we call this building your strategic level OKRs. These are OKRs for the organization, right? And once you start building and deploying these OKRs, it's important that you role model, you lead by example, you make sure that when the OKRs are being set and implemented, you're actually leading there. Many times we see that leaders just set OKRs and then they leave it to their people to go and implement. You gotta be there with them every step of the way. And this is called modeling the right kind of behaviors, supporting your people, and showing them that you are equally involved and committed to the OKR process. That's number one. Number two, for this framework to work and show you results, it's important that you build a culture with a coaching mindset. Now, what's different about a coaching mindset is it's not your authoritarian, top-down, I tell and you listen kind of leadership. It's not the kind of leadership where you command and control your people. For OKRs to work, you need your people to be involved. They need to be involved in the planning process. They need to be involved in the alignment process. And they also need to be involved in the execution process. But that's not going to come if you push them and you start cascading goals. It's not going to come if you force them to achieve these goals. And therefore, coaching your people on a regular basis is the other important leadership behavior that is extremely critical for OKRs to succeed. The third piece I want to talk about is it's important that OKRs are aligned, and that means while you have goals coming top down, please also spend time asking your people what do they think they can do to contribute to the organization. This is called the bottom-up alignment, right? And with that, we also have cross-alignment, which means is your marketing and the sales team aligned towards selling the same product? Are they aligned in selling in the same market? Or are they not really talking to each other? So this is the kind of alignment that's needed. And to do that, again, you will need as a leader to bring these teams together. They need to co-create and make the goals together rather than making it in their own departments by themselves. Of course, the other behavior that's important is to encourage people to really think about outcomes and not tasks. Don't just encourage people to ask, what do I have to do? But also ask them, what am I going to get? Right? If I do this activity, what's the outcome? And where is that outcome going to impact at the organization level? So that's the kind of conversation which can only happen once you start looking at coaching your people. The fifth piece here is very, very important, and that is celebration. With OKRs, it's also important that when people are achieving their goals, you take some time out to recognize people, recognize the progress, celebrate every now and then. And when you attend the workshop, which is happening next week, if and when you attend this workshop next week, you will learn how to do all these things. These are all skills. There are skills, there are principles, there are models that we will teach you that will really help you become an OKR coach, that will help you to model the right kind of behaviors and also focus on learning how to celebrate and recognize, acknowledge people. Sometimes you also need to give people feedback. How do you do all these things in the most constructive manner? So those are some of the things we will cover in our certification program. And last but not the least, building psychological safety for your people. Now, you may have heard about psychological safety, but what does that really mean? And to me, psychological safety is nothing but the absence of interpersonal fear. So if you have people in your team and they're scared to open their mouths and speak up, share an idea, or say, hey, boss, I don't really agree with this idea. If you have people in your team that don't want to speak, it means you don't have psychological safety in your team. And in the absence of psychological safety, you will see that people are not really putting in effort. They're doing their minimum work and they're going home. They're not really engaged in the process. They're not engaged at the workplace. And you're going to stop missing out on innovation. You're going to stop missing out on initiative. And those are the kind of problems you will be facing. So in the workshop that we're doing next week, we will also teach you ways of how to build psychological safety as an OKR coach and as an OKR leader. Now, that kind of does with the second question. And I do want to spend time now talking about the third question, and that is what information should be known about the structure, the use of OKRs, what information should be known about the implementation process and best practices. I think Bogdan has talked about some of them already, but I will talk about a few of those pieces again. I think as far as structures go, you've already seen the video on the DNA and the introduction to OKRs. That should allow you to understand what the structure really looks like. But besides that, as far as usage goes, please be clear that OKRs are not the same as KPIs. OKR is not about your performance management, rewards, and bonuses. OKRs are about you as a business trying to choose those 3 to 5 top priorities that are critical for your business transformation. It's not about doing more of the same thing, because if you keep doing what you always did, you will keep getting what you always got. If you want to change your organization, if you want to transform your organization, if you want to grow your organization, then you've got to start looking at choosing OKRs that will help you with that growth, with that transformation. So OKRs are not about your business as usual. OKRs are about creating transformation. It's about choosing those few goals that would give you exponential growth in times to come. And the world of OKRs, we like to call them moonshots. Moonshots because it helps your organization jump up and reach an aspiration which looks like a dream, but it's achievable. And let me give you the example of Google Chrome, right? Google Chrome was an OKR set by the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai. But when Sundar Pichai was working on OKRs and he was working on Google Chrome as his OKR, at that time, he was not the CEO of Google. For him, bringing Google Chrome was about transforming the way people searched on the internet. And he wanted to make Chrome the most used browser in the world. Mind you, it took Sundar Pichai and his team 3 years. It took them 2 to 3 years to really make Chrome the most used browser in the world. So what that means is OKRs are not so much about short-term business as usual KPI. It's about transformation and growth in a way that really pushes your organization to become a leader in the marketplace. The third piece is the best practice and advice around implementation. If you decide to start with OKRs, don't cover everything and cover everyone overnight, right? It's about making sure that you start small. Choose a few goals, less is more. What that means is, like Bogdan said, don't just go overboard with, oh, we love OKRs, so we're going to put all the goals that we've got and we're going to cover everybody. It's not going to work that way. The way OKRs really work when you start implementation is that you choose a few OKRs, you experiment, you stabilize that process as you start evolving and growing the OKR framework within the organization. So remember to start small, choose a few OKRs, but do them really well, and make sure that whatever OKRs you choose, they're aligned, they're done in a way where people are trained properly to use it before you jump in. Okay? So I always like to say this, and I say this to a lot of leaders like you. You would rather have a not so great strategy document, but brilliant execution, instead of having a beautiful looking strategy document, but very poor execution. And what OKRs can do for you is help you choose those few goals and execute them really, really well. Okay? And to that, some of the tips and ideas that I'd like to share is start with a 3x3 framework. And that is, if you're doing OKRs for the first time, don't do more than 3 objectives. And for each objective, don't go beyond more than 2 or 3 key results. Just keep it lean, keep it simple. Don't complicate it. Remember that OKRs are those transformative goals for you. It's not about covering all the goals in your organization. It's about choosing those priorities that will give you the most impact as a company. Keep them transparent. That's the other message I have for you. Keep them transparent. Make sure that everyone can see each other's OKRs, and that's the way we make it more robust and build a really strong OKR framework. And like Bogdan said, he stole my words, and well done there, progress over perfection. What that means is, don't wait for perfect OKRs or the perfect strategy or perfect execution. Just start doing something, and you will see that the process will evolve in a very methodical, step-by-step manner. So trust the process. It works wherever it's done well. It works beautifully. Okay, and that brings us to really answering the next question. And this is, how do modern management philosophies and performance management methodologies align with implementing OKRs? I think Bogdan is a living example of how OKRs work so beautifully. You can integrate them with agile management, right? Whether you're using Scrum or Kanban or any other agile methodology, OKRs can really extrapolate and support that, right? OKRs can help you if you're using balanced scorecards. OKRs can help you with using your KPI system and then building it to get better and stronger. OKRs can help you with agile. It also works really well with modern leadership practices, which is more focused on servant leadership or adaptive leadership, where the focus is not really showing up as a leader and saying, this is how we're going to lead, but being flexible and adaptive over and over again. So OKRs work beautifully there. And of course, the very foundation of what most organizations do today is continuous performance management. And OKRs are a framework that sit really well on continuous performance management. In fact, it's built on the same philosophy where you move away from annual performance reviews, setting goals one time in a year, and then forgetting about it, doing a review with your people one time in a year and forgetting about it. OKRs take you away from that old system that does not work, and it brings you towards a system where performance is something you manage continuously. You manage this on a weekly basis, you manage it on a fortnightly basis, a monthly basis, a quarterly basis. It's an ongoing dialogue. And it sits beautifully across a lot of these methodologies, whether it's balanced scorecard, whether it's enterprise operating systems, EOS, and whatnot. OKRs can really sit well in most modern practices. And that kind of brings us to one more question, and that is, how can OKRs be used to improve human resource management and employee productivity? I saw a lot of you had talked about it during the Mentimeter poll, and some of you have asked this question even before coming into the webinar. Now, the thing is, OKRs can be set for the whole organization, but it can also be set, if you want, you can start small and say, I want to do OKRs only for one team in my organization. When we worked for Aegon Life, which is a huge general insurance company, they started OKRs way back in 2016-17, and they decided to do OKRs only for one team, which was the team that managed the insurance after the insurance is issued. It's called the post-issuance team. And they were going digital, and they had an agile team. And they decided they just want to use OKRs for that one team. In the same way, if you feel you want to start OKRs for any one team in your organization, you can definitely do that. And here, we've seen with certain organizations, OKRs can be used to improve HR and people productivity. You can use OKRs for talent acquisition and hiring. You can use OKRs for onboarding, role clarification, job descriptions. You can use OKRs for talent management, learning and development, career and succession planning, and even bringing in employee experience and building employee engagement. So for those of you really interested in knowing how this can be done for the HR and for your people, do jump in and attend our workshop coming up next week. It's a 3-day program where you will learn all this and more. And it really gives you all the tools and all the techniques to go back and start using OKRs immediately after your program. So that was answering the question around how OKRs can be used to improve HR and build more productivity with your people. And there are a few more questions some of you have asked, and let me spend some time talking about what the answers to those questions really look like. Now, somebody has asked this question, what are some of the current trends in OKRs, right? What are the new trends in OKRs, and how are new ideas emerging in the age of digital transformation? And what we've seen now is the rise of micro OKRs, a very interesting concept that we coined. And this is a concept where OKRs can be brought lower down to smaller teams where the duration is much shorter. You might not want to do OKRs for the whole organization, but you might choose to do OKRs for a smaller team or a shorter period. And that's where we see that micro OKRs are getting to be used in several organizations. We also see a lot of organizations moving towards OKR software platforms where you manage your goals using automation and software. We have artificial intelligence telling you a whole lot of things about how OKRs are working for you, what's the likelihood of your OKR succeeding, sending you messages in real time to work around your OKRs. And so all these are possible practices around what's happening in the world of OKRs versus, some of the contemporary practices in digital transformation, new ideas, and so on. Also, there's a lot of work being done currently as far as certain organizations are gone. They're talking not just about OKRs, but culture-driven OKRs. So one of the things that we do at OKR International is not just help you with OKRs, but also support you in setting the right kind of culture, setting the right kind of people practices, setting the right kind of systems that would really support you and support your people and your organization in moving in the right direction. So these are some of the things that are happening, but I think as far as important pieces go, you will see that these are two areas where a lot of people are really doing a lot of work and building OKRs in ways that are enabled by technology, using AI, and really supporting you to make the OKR process very efficient, right? The other piece that we've seen also is the bottom-up strategy activation. So what we're seeing a lot of organizations do today is go away from strategy being top-down to co-creating and making strategy together, especially startup organizations or organizations where the overall team size is really small. Strategy is not created by one or two leaders, but is created by the whole organization together by taking inputs from people and collecting intelligence and then putting your strategy together basis the overall collective intelligence of everyone in the organization. So these are some of the pieces that was important for me to share with you. We do have 2 or 3 more questions before we close. One big question that was asked, what's the difference and what are the advantages of using the OKR system compared to something called OGSM? Now, OGSM essentially stands for objectives, goals, strategies, and measures, quite similar to the balanced scorecard, where you use something called OMTP, which is objectives, measures, targets, and programs. So they're all more or less different ways of managing performance in an organization. But as you can see over here, and if you read some of these pieces as the big difference, one of the things that you realize is that OKRs, by and large, give you a huge advantage. The advantage is it allows you to look at transformation. It allows you to look at long-term goals that will change the nature of your business. It allows you to then bring that into a more quarterly cycle where it encourages you to focus on being more innovative, being more adaptive, being more responsive, very transparent. It allows for multi-directional alignment across the board. And the most important part about OKRs, unlike OGSM, is the fact that it allows you to check in frequently to see what's going on. Do you have a problem within the organization? Is there something happening in the marketplace? And how do we really respond to this rather than react to it? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop some files in the chat box. So if you go to your chat section, you can download. I have 3 files there for you to download. One is a file on the difference between OKR and OGSM. The second file is the difference between OKRs and KPIs. And the third part is file number 3 is the difference between OKRs and balanced scorecard. So for those of you who are interested in learning more about them, please download those files right now. And if you cannot download it, please let us know after the webinar. We would be happy to send these files across to you. So hopefully, for those of you looking at answering this question, you will find all the answers and more in the PDF file that I have just shared with you. But when you talk about the advantages of OKRs over OGSM, you get to see that by and large, like I said, it allows for more agility. OKRs allow you for more agility. It brings in more focus. It's got more levels of transparency. OKRs also tend to be more outcome-centric, and it gives you higher degrees of engagement and accountability from people. OGSM also works. It tends to be more linear. It's a more top-down. It's more waterfall-like. It does not have that level of transparency or that social collective goal setting and implementation. It may have here and there, but as a framework, OKRs tend to be much more powerful. It's a much easier way of getting things done. And that kind of leads us to also the difference between OKRs and KPIs. And I always like to say this, OKRs are about doing the right things, whereas KPIs are about doing things right? So KPIs are about continuous improvement. KPIs are about business as usual. KPIs are about keeping your business running. But if you want to grow your business, if you want to transform your business, then business as usual KPIs are not going to help you do that. And that's what happened to BlackBerry. That's what happened to Nokia. They wanted to do more and more of what they already were doing, instead of trying to look at how do we innovate? What's happening in the marketplace? How do we change? How do we transform? How do we adapt? And OKRs are a great tool. It's not either this or. I think OKRs and KPIs need to be brought together. They need to be combined. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's how OKRs and KPIs can actually sit together in your organization. So if you do choose to bring OKRs to your company, it's not about shutting down your KPI. It's about how do you enhance your goal setting and execution? How do you build on what you're already doing and enhance it using OKRs? So OKRs give you a lot of agility. OKRs give you a lot of alignment. OKRs build a lot of innovation and growth mindset. And that's the big difference between OKRs and KPIs. KPIs are about your hygiene factors. It's about keeping the engine running. But if you want the engine to speed, if you want your organization to grow rapidly, then KPIs are not going to be sufficient for you. You need to understand what OKRs will bring to the table. You'll need to look at aspirational goals and see how you can amalgamate it and bring it together rather than choosing one over the other. So hopefully this answers a lot of your questions around OKRs and associated areas. And what we're going to do now is leave the room open for about 15 to 20 minutes to see if you have any specific questions for me or Bogdan or for Sudha, and we'd be happy to answer these questions. And I'm also hoping a lot of these questions have already been answered, but if you have any more questions, please do share with us. Either put your question in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and ask the question, and we can answer them right away for you. So don't be shy. Go ahead, put your questions in the chat and ask on. Happy to answer them for you.
За манайхан бүгдээрээ камера нээж болно шүү. Бүгдээрээ камера нээгээд оролцож байгаа байдлаа харуулъя. Эрхтэй оролцъё бүгдээрээ. Баярлалаа. Соложи нээсэн байна. Анх чимэг нээсэн байна. Баярлалаа. Бүгдээрээ баярлалаа.
Хай.
Сайн байна
За,
уу?
асуулт асууж болох
Байгууллага хэлж болно.
уу? За, сайн байна уу? Hi, Miki, Bogdan.
Hello. Nice.
Орчинд байх тий?
Орчинд
It's
байгаа
better
даа.
to speak in Mongolian.
Sure.
За, асуулт монголоор асууч. Одоо ажилтнуудынхаа яг гүйцэтгэлийн үнэлгээ гэж бид нар хуучин яриад хэвчсэн тий. Тэр энэ дээр OKR-тайгаа холбоотой юу гэдэг одоо ерөнхий байна л да компани юм төрөх гэдэг ингэж 3 key result-а төлөөлнө гэж байгаа. Энэ хавыг ажилтныхаа гүйцэтгэл рүү буулгахдаа яг яах ёстой юм. За жишээлбэл бид нар одоо маркетингийн ажилтныг жишээ авъя тий. Компани контентууд иймэрхүү байдлаар engagement-тэй хүрсэн байна гэдэг гэж байгаа key result-уудаа тавьсан боловч за тэрийг хийдэг ажилтнууд би энэ дээр нэг 6 рейс хийсэн байна. Би хийх байгаа хийсэн. Гэхдээ энэ болсонгүй. Гэт ингээд суужих бид нар key result хүрээгүй байна гэж бонусын кат ч юм уу ингээд явах нь хэр амттай вэ гэж асуух. Яаж яг employee evolution-тэй integration хийх ёстой вэ?
I love this question. Thank you for asking this question. I think we get this question several times from different people. And it's a very common question that we get. The simplest answer to this question is that we don't really recommend tying bonuses to OKRs, right? Now, you got to understand that bonuses need to be paid to people. Salaries need to be paid to people. Incentives need to be paid to people. And this is what we like to call individual performance management, right? So you got to understand that when people come to the workplace, they work on a lot of KPIs and business as usual work. And OKRs are not about individual goals. OKRs are about goals at the organization level. So when we write OKRs, they are collective goals. They are collective priorities. And therefore, we don't really make OKRs for individuals or single employees. We make OKRs at the company level or maybe at a team level, but we don't make OKRs at individual level. At the individual level, you actually have initiatives, activities, programs, projects, and they need to be rewarded for the work they're doing, but not for the OKRs, because the OKRs are collective goals. It's about the priority of the organization. And so care must be taken to ensure that people are clear that OKRs are not the same as reward and recognition. It's important that you keep them differently, right? Hopefully that answers your question. I don't know, Bogdan, if you'd like to ask or add something there, or Suvda, please feel free.
Oh, it happens the same to us. I mean, we don't get our bonuses only because certain teams deliver certain OKRs. We either collectively succeed together or learn from our mistakes and iterate and be better next time. It's counterintuitive and it's a recipe for disaster and it will create a lot of animosities inside the organization if you start to tie the bonuses on the OKRs, because it will create a competition that in the end it will not bring us closer to achieving certain outcomes. It will be a competition similar to the ones related to number of initiatives implemented. everyone will struggle to achieve their OKRs, but in the end, I don't know if the organization as a whole will be more successful. So yeah, I don't think that it's something that it's worth pursuing. Of course, if at team level, let's say a team member wants to get a technical certification that will help him to be better on his current role, sure. If he takes that certification and the other team members valued his contribution, then he might get a raise. But that's only at the team level.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Bogdan. I think hopefully solo you managed to get some answer to your question there. And of course, there's a lot more complications involved here on why we recommend not to really tie and mix bonuses with OKRs. Also remember one more thing, that OKRs are meant to transform your organization. It's meant to bring innovation. And for innovation to happen, people need to do a lot of experimentation and also fail several times, because you cannot really ensure that every experiment is successful. So with innovation comes experimentation. And with experimentation, you might probably try 10 experiments and fail in 9 to get the one right outcome. But think about it. If you start incentivizing and giving bonuses, people are going to stop experimentation, because that means there's fear of failure. And if that failure means I'm not going to get my bonus, you can only imagine what's going to happen to innovation in your organization, right? So care must be taken that we're clear about why we're using OKRs and how it's going to be different from your regular individual performance management, okay? So that takes us to the second question. Batuk has asked us, how do you really prevent OKRs from becoming a waterfall style planning artifact in agile organizations? I love this question, Batuk. Bogdan, do you want to take that? Because you're working in that agile space. I think some wisdom from your end would be useful.
Sure. So how do we prevent the OKRs from becoming waterfall style planning? I mean, the OKR strategy, it happens at the C-level and at the team level. So we are working on a certain objective that cascade into the key results, that cascade also into initiatives/projects. Those projects will be usually delivered either fully agile or in a hybrid way. So from a team perspective, the team works delivering certain projects that contribute to key results or to objectives. And it's the classical release cycle for an agile team: planning, retrospectives, starting again. So it's business as usual from a team perspective. From the organizational perspective, there is a high-level strategy, and there are some goals and key results that support that strategy, and there are some reflection points. So I think that having the OKRs, we are moving, having the OKR framework, we are moving more towards agile mindset on creating those and applying the OKR framework, and also agile on conducting the projects. So I think that it's we are forced to embrace an agile mindset, even when we are applying the OKR framework, and also at the team level where we are delivering certain initiatives. Because even at the organization level, if we are thinking that a certain key result or a certain goal is or objective is not suitable for our business needs, then we are adapting and we are pivoting a bit, implementing or discussing a different objective, then cascading to slightly different key results and different projects. So I think that having this framework at the organizational level and also at the team level, everything is much more agile than waterfall. So I don't think that it's a real danger to adopt a waterfall mindset, because by definition, the process, the release planning, all the artifacts are very agile.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Bogdan, and hopefully that answers your question, Batu. We do have another question from one of our audience, and this is a question coming from Bolarma. How suitable is it for a non-government organization that brings together individuals and member companies with diverse professional backgrounds? So from what I understand, this is a question about how do we bring OKRs to a conglomerate large company which has several smaller companies within them or smaller business units within them. And I think it's quite possible to run OKRs for such businesses. And what we do in this case is you have the option of creating OKRs at the group level, where you start looking at what do we want to do as a group. And then you also bring it down to what do you want to do at individual company levels within the group. So when you look at OKRs for that conglomerate or that large group, you may also have OKRs at maybe 2 or 3 levels from the group level below. So it allows you to start looking at both the macro and at the business level. And it's quite possible to do that. We've done it with insurance companies like MetLife, and this is across the Gulf region. We've looked at what we want to achieve at the MetLife Gulf level, but we've also looked at what we want to achieve for MetLife in different countries within the GCC region. So it's pretty interesting to see how OKRs can be navigated in situations like this. Hopefully, this answers your question, Balorma. We do have another question coming from, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I think it's coming from OKR. And the question that's being asked is, the annual plan is out, it's being implemented. Will moving directly to OKR mean a lot of changes to the entire organization, or should we prepare and move it to the next year? I love this question. Thank you for asking this. The beauty of OKRs is, please remember one thing, OKRs are not about bringing something to disrupt your organization. OKRs are about enhancing what you're already doing. So we have several examples of organizations that have started using OKRs in the middle of the annual cycle. And it kind of works for us because what it does is, while you're running your business as usual, you can start using OKRs as an experiment in only maybe trying to see what you want to achieve in one team or 2 teams, or try and create OKRs for maybe a couple of quarters only at the organization level. So let me give you the example where we worked with a client called Colgate. And with Colgate, what we did is we actually walked into their cycle towards the last 4 months of their annual cycle. And what we did is, for the last 4 months of that annual cycle, we only created OKRs at the organization level. By the way, we used the same approach with MetLife as well. We came in the last 4 months. We did 1 cycle of OKRs only at the organization level, where business as usual continued as it was planned, no disruption. But by the time we finished OKRs and the next year started, it allowed us to learn from our experiences and then go full-fledged and do a full-scale implementation for a complete annual cycle. And it's kind of good that something like this happens because it allows you a few months to play around and experiment, learn how to stabilize that process before you actually start doing OKRs across the board. So hopefully that answers your question out here. And yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong time with OKRs. There's no such thing as perfect, okay? Like Bogdan and I have been talking about, it's always progress over perfection. So there's no perfect time for OKRs. You can be a large organization, you can be a small organization, you can be starting your year, you can be in the middle of the year, you can be 50 people, you can be 500 people, you can be 5,000 people, doesn't matter. OKRs work just as well in any setup, in any organization. All right, so we have another question coming up over here, and that's from Oyungril. I don't know if I'm calling your name right. Apologies if I've called it wrong. The question is how to increase understanding and collaboration between members of an organization with different ages. All right, so I don't know if this is the kind of problem that OKRs can solve for you. Be clear that, you know, OKR is not like a magic pill. It's not like a magic wand that will solve every problem in your organization. I'm not too sure if this is a problem about OKRs. I think it's more a problem about communication in your organization. So some things OKRs can't solve for you. They cannot solve for you. And this is a great example of what OKRs cannot solve for you, right? So I think you need intervention around how to communicate better between your older population and some of the new generation population, like your millennials and the Gen Z. And so it's more about bridging that communication gap. Okay, we've got a question from Batu. Again, thank you for asking this question. How can we use OKRs to improve velocity and accountability in a fast-moving product team? So Batu, allow me to send you a really interesting document where you can learn how to combine Agile along with OKRs. But Bogdan, maybe this is a question you want to take because you're more of an expert over here than I am. So question is, how can we use OKRs to improve velocity and accountability in fast-moving product teams?
Well, sometimes I don't know. I'm riding a lot my motorcycle, and there is a saying related to motorcycle riding that you need to go a bit slower in order to go faster and further. So maybe sometimes you don't need to have super velocity and to go really fast, but you need to understand, it's really important to understand the direction and what kind of outcome do you want to achieve. So take a step back and reassess the direction and try to get to a sustainable pace rather than to pursue going really fast and constantly improve your velocity. Because I've seen lots of examples when you're trying to work to drive really fast and to have big velocities, you end up maybe on burnout side, losing valuable team members, and yeah, maybe that's not the best thing to do. So I think that teams are created towards outcomes. When people are seeing that, look, we have this framework and we are starting to see results, outcomes, and everyone feels better when we are getting to these results, then automatically things will improve.
Okay, thank you for that, Bogdan. And we do have a few minutes, so I'm going to spend some time trying to see if we can quickly answer a couple of other questions lurking around. And the question being asked by Batu is, do you recommend quarterly OKRs or shorter cycles, like monthly, for lean startup teams? Now, here's my quick answer to this. OKRs are very, very flexible. Whilst there's a lot of flexibility, it's also important that we don't flex it so much that we lose the integrity of OKRs. My recommendation is that keep your OKRs to an annual and quarterly cycles. But if you're working for a lean startup team, or if you're using Agile, you have your product backlogs, you have your monthly sprint goals anyways, you have your daily stand-ups, and they are all essentially part of your initiatives. Let OKRs be at the quarterly basis because it allows you to focus on larger outcomes while you work on your different product backlogs. You start working on your sprint goals, which are essentially shorter in duration. So keep things simple, don't complicate it too much, is my answer to this question. Sigi has asked this really important question, and that's going to be the last question we take today. How can OKRs be effectively linked to qualitative outcomes such as leadership, team collaboration, or culture transformation? Sigi, I love this question, and I get this question quite a lot of times. How do you manage to quantify some of the intangible around people and customers? The quick answer is you got to learn this process of quantification. And when you come to our workshop, we teach you techniques on how you can just about quantify anything that needs to be improved. But here's the thing. Unless you don't quantify something, it's not going to be something that you can improve. But I think the short answer to your question is it's possible to do that. We're not going to be able to cover it right away for you. But what we can tell you is the 3-day workshop is going to answer a lot of these questions and more, and not just answer them, but also give you the skills and the opportunity to practice doing something like this and work around it. So hopefully this helps to some extent, Sigi. But yes, I think there's a really nice book written. The book is called Everything Can Be Quantified, or something like that. I think there's an art and science to it. And once you're in the workshop, you learn how to do it. So that is pretty much the end of our workshop, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are interested in accessing our free 30-day OKR Foundation course, online e-learning, please scan this QR code, and I will also put the link to this entire free e-learning course. So it's also a link available in the chat box. You can also alternatively just scan the QR code and fill in your details, and you can start accessing the OKR Foundation course completely free for 1 month. It has 6 core modules on OKRs, enough to get you started and get your foundations right. This is collectively going to be about 1.5 hours of OKR learning for you, and will give you the confidence you need in case you need to decide to jump into the workshop. Okay. Also, our important announcement, and that is we are coming for the first time in Mongolia offering a professional OKR coach certification, the OKR Body of Knowledge, BOK, OKR Box Certified Coach Program. And this is an exclusive opening offer. It's a one-time offer only because we're coming to Mongolia for the first time. This is an opportunity you don't want to be missing. So you can get the OKR Box Certified Coach Program. The listed price for this program is 5.2 million, which is about $1,500 US. But if you want to get trained, we're offering this for 1.6 million only. This is the fee that we will charge you if you want to attend the program without a certification. But if you want to attend the program and complete the examination and the certification, then the fee is 2.6 million, which is also a 50% discount on a listed price only for everyone attending this course. This is open for the next 24 hours, by the way. All right. So for those of you who are interested in signing up for this program, I'm going to put the link in the chat box and you can hit the link. It is a form. Please fill in your details and send it across to us. Please remember, this offer is open only for the next 24 hours. And this is only available because we are opening up for the first time in Mongolia. So it's a really good offer. Don't let this opportunity go by. What you're going to get by this program is you're going to get a lifetime credential as an OKR Box certified coach. You also get a digital badge and certificate. Besides this, you're going to get 16 hours of intensive experiential learning. We're covering this over 3 days for you. You also get access to the entire e-learning platform for 1 year, which has 24 OKR modules that would really help you with everything that we do in the training program. Will also be available for you on the e-learning platform for 365 days. So that's a lot being offered to you. The program has a lot of case studies. It's got real plays, practice sessions. So it allows you a lot of practice, a lot of experiential learning. And you also get access to our global OKR forum, where you can connect with other people and also share best practices with each other. Do remember, this program is endorsed by both HRCI and ICF for recertification units. We've been heavily audited by them. So this is also proof of the fact that it's a professional certification being offered for you, and you don't want to be missing this opportunity. So the workshop dates are 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of May. Is happening in Ulaanbaatar, and the timings for all the 3 days is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. All days. So if you'd really like to attend, please do register and click the link in the chat box. Do send us your details. Remember, the discounts being offered is only open till the next 24 hours. So with all this and more, I would like to say thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Bogdan, thank you for jumping in and giving us your valuable time. Really appreciate it. And for all you lovely people who attended the webinar today, please go out, spread the word, and make sure that you help us help Mongolia get better and better. So Suvd, we'd like to end if there's anything you'd like to share with people before we close for today. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
За, Богдан 1-2-таа маш их баярлалаа. Энэ маш сайхан вебинар боллоо. Тэгээд манай улсын одоо бүхий бизнес бүхий энэ салбаруудад үнэтэй хувь нэмэр оруулна гэж итгэж байгаа. Дээрээс нь OKR бол үнэхээр Монгол улстай маш хэрэгцээтэй юм аргачлал байгаа, систем байгаа гэдэгт бүрэн итгэлтэй байгаа. За тэгээд OKR International-ийн бас юм trusted partner болсон тий франчайз ингээ эзэмсэн байгаа. Одоо энэ шалтгаан нь бол ерөөсөө л энэ системийг Монгол улстай зөвөр тий яг ингээд нөгөө хэрэгжүүлж болох хуйцаар одоо үйл ажиллагаанд оруулаач тий одоо бид нар бол зүгээр суралцаад нөгөө хийгээд байдаг. Гэхдээ энийг бүр яг системчлээд яг энэ туршлаган дээр нь олон улсын туршлаган дээр нь үндэслээд байгууллага дээр энийг яг зөвөр хэрэгжүүлэх гэдэг энэ одоо чиглэл рүү бид нар энэ OKR Mongolia явж байгаа. Тэгээ тийм учраас Монголын бизнесүүдэд бид туслахыг хүсэж байна тий. Монголын бизнесүүдэд хурцтай хөгжих энэ боломжийг OKR International-ийн франчайз авснараа бид нэр хийж чадна гэдэгт итгэлтэй байгаа. За тэгээд OKR франчайз International-ийн франчайзаараа дамжуулаад бид нар Монгол улсын бүх нийт 21 аймаг болон Улаанбаатарт байгаа нийт одоо бизнес эрхлэгч нартай одоо бэлэн байгаа. Тэгээд энд оролцсон одоо бүхий л компаниудтай маш том компаниуд байгаа. Томоохон банкуд байна, томоохон группуд байна. Тэгээд жижиг дунд бизнес эрхлэх одоо төрийн байгууллагууд гэх мэтчлэн дад гаруй бизнесүүд одоо энэ вебинарт бүртгүүлээд манай энэ вебинарыг сонссон байгаа. Тэгээд та бүхэндээ маш их баярлалаа. Тэгээд энэ бүхний эцэст ямар ч байсан 5 сарын 20, 22, 23, 24-нд нэг манай International-ийн CEO хурж ирж биднэрт одоо сургалт орох болно. Тэгээ энэ сургалтын дээр яг гэхээр яг түрүүчийн хэлснээр маш хямдхан одоо бид нар нөгөө франчайзийнхаа эрхээрээ олон улстай $1,500 одоо энийг авдаг байсан бол Монгол улстай бүр хэрвээ сертификатгүй байх юм бол сая 500 мянган төгрөгөөр энэ сургалтыг авах боломжтой болчихж байгаа. За тэгээд хэрвээ сертификат авахаар бол та 2 сая 600, 2 сая 500-аар гэдэг энэ сертификаттай болно. Тэгэхээр 5 сая төгрөг төлгөө, 2 сая төгрөг, 2.5 сая төгрөг төлгөө энэ бол таны одоо сонирхол. За тэгээд ингээд энэ вебинараа ингээд өндөрлөе. Гэтэ өндөрлөхөөс өмнө бүгдээрээ камера асаагаад нэг зураг авахулчих уу гэж хүсэж байна. Яа тэгвэл энэ бол бас л нэг түүхэн боломж те бидэрт бол энэ дурсамж болон үлдэх болов гэж найдаж байгаа. Тэгээ бүгдээрээ гоё юугээ камера асаад өгөөч. Яг бүгдээрээ энийгээрээ бүгдээрэнд нь баярлалаа. Ямар гоё юм бэ. Яг нар асж байгаа, нар гарч байгаа юм шиг бүгдээрээ тал талаас ингээд татварч байна. Тэгээд зөндөө олон таньдаг хүмүүс бас энэ байгаа. Бүгдэнд нь баярлалаа. Одоо эхнээс нь эхлэе. Timely цэгийн Timely-дээ баярлалаа. Болормодоо баярлалаа. Хаан банкныхандаа баярлалаа. Samsung наран цэцгийн Alтай Resource гэдэг ингээд зөндөө олон хүмүүс байна. Би банк босынхан байна тий. Ингээд бүх хүмүүстээ бүгдээрэнд нь баярлалаа. Нийтдээ 70 гаруй компаниуд бүртгүүлсэн гэж хэлсэн байна. За одоо ингээд бүгдээрээ зураг авах бол зургийг авъя. Наашаа хараарай. За дахиад авъя. Cheese. Манай where's Bogdan? Bogdan байхгүй байна. I don't see Bogdan. За дахиад нэг зургийг авчээ. За баярлалаа. Бүгдээрэнд нь амжилт хүсье. Тэгээд энэ тавьсан нөгөө линкээр ороод та бүхэн сургалт хэрэгцээтэй болон сургалтандаа одоо ороорой 24 цагийн дотор бүртгүүлэх юм бол бүр хямдралтай байгаа. Тэгээд хэрвээ та бүхнээс дотроос чинь те камера юугаа микрофон асааж агаад юм үг хэлэх хүсэх юм бол одоо боломж байгаа шүү. Та бүхэндээ боломжийг олгоё.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.